Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to the panel. Today, I want to present my purpose of research is relationship between food insecurity and mental health among FSR recreational athlete in UiTM Seremban 3. First of all, my name is Nick Muhammad Waiz bin Paiman. Okay, now I want to tell a little bit about the background of the study of this research. Okay, food is one of human beings that most basic requirement as it provides both required and non-essential nutrients to the body. As a result, it is critical that individuals pay attention to what they consume in order to maintain their health and vigor. However, a variety of factors including one's physical condition, financial situation, and surrounding might influence one's eating habits. Food insecurity is a major public health concern, said Mary E. Morales in 2016. And food insecurity has been associated with depression and mental distress, especially in individuals already under higher stress and those socially isolated. Jones in 2017. There are two variables that include in this research. The first variable is independent variable. What I take is food insecurity, and second is dependent variable, which is a mental health. Next, it's statement of the problem. Number one is COVID-19 pandemic really give the toughness, especially towards mental health students. Second, food insecurity will be a hot issue, especially among the students, because they have to cut off cost for living during the pandemic. And third, there is no indication of direct links about the relationship between food insecurity and mental health among recreational athlete students. Okay, next is research objective. Number one is to identify the food insecurity status among recreational athlete students. And number two is to investigate the relationship between two variables, which is food insecurity and mental health among FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3 itself. Next, there are also a significance of this study. The outcome of this study will be benefit to all students or subjects that take part in this study who are FSR recreational athlete students UiTM Seremban 3. That is because it will give a knowledge that food insecurity can affect the mental health among the students. Besides that, this study is needed to help the students to know how important food intake is in their life of study. Next is literature review for two variables, which is first is food insecurity and mental health. Next, we go to the methodology of the research. First is research design. Researchers have chosen the quantitative research design, which is this type of research design has been chosen to align with the research objective, which is what I said. Next, the research will be conducted using a survey, which includes administering a questionnaire to determine the view of practice of a population. Okay, now I want to tell a detail more to the sample size first. First of foremost, the total number of FSR students in UiTM Negeri Sembilan, Campus Seremban 3 is 890 people, according to HEA Register 2021. The sample size necessary for this analysis is 269 samples, but after adding in a 20% chances of dropout, the total number of samples required was 323 samples. However, due to a lack of respondents, an average rate response survey will be used. It is because it generally expressed as a percentage. It means the response rate in a questionnaire survey is computed by dividing the number of persons who respond to the survey by the number of people. The average response rate to a survey is 33% due to the survey Anyplace in 2018 that said 33% is an average response rate for all survey channels, including in-person and digital, and more than 20% being a good survey response rate for NPS survey. Okay. Next, the sampling technique that will be used by the researcher is simple random sampling will be used to utilize to produce a sample. The researcher will use probability sampling technique to decide the samples. It is utilized statistical theory to randomly select a small sample of FSR students. Okay. For the food insecurity status, the researcher used the Food Insecurity Experience Scale. The FAO Voice of the Hungry project developed the Food Insecurity Experience Scale in 2013, and it is the first to develop to measure food insecurity at the individual level globally. For the mental health, it used Depression, Anxiety and Stress Scale, which is DAS-21 questionnaire. The Depression, Anxiety and Stress Scale was developed by Lovibon in 1995. The Depression, Anxiety and Stress Scale, which is DAS-21, is a set of 3 self-report scales designed to measure the emotional states of depression, anxiety and stress. For the data collection procedure, there are 5 stages, which is ethic approval, participant requirement, brief on study and questionnaire, distribute questionnaire to the sample, and lastly, recollect the questionnaire. Next, for the data analysis, for the descriptive statistic is to identify the food insecurity status among recreational athlete students. And for the relationship between food insecurity and mental health, we use a chi-square test to investigate the relationship between food insecurity and mental health among students in UiTM Seremban 3. Okay. Next, for the result. First, we go to demographic analysis. Demographic analysis for this study is based on 3 different variables, which is age, gender, and program code. From the total of 112 samples that randomly select, frequency of age among the sample is different, which only 2 samples are 18 years old, while the highest number of samples is 22 years old, with total 44 samples. Furthermore, the sample that 19 years old is 16 samples, while 20 years old only 4 samples. Distribution of sample for gender is regarding male and female is fair, 50 and 50. Sample frequency of gender is male is 56 and female also 56, which is 50% for male, 50% for female. Okay, now we go to the descriptive analysis, which research objective number 1. Descriptive analysis focuses on determining the level of food secure for each respondent. Result for the analysis has been simplified in the following that I put in the slide. Result from this analysis been used to achieve the first objective of the study, where to determine the level of the food insecurity status among recreational athlete students. Finding from this analysis shown the level of food secure among recreational athlete students. Out of 112 respondents, only 46, which is 41.1% in program code Srw655 has highest levels in terms of food secure, moderate and severe food insecurity among recreational athletes. Other than that, in program code in Srw655, there are only 5 respondents, which is 4.46%, which is food secure, moderate and none for severe food insecurity. Then in Srw613, there are only 34 respondents, which is 30.4%. Okay, next we go to the correlation analysis, which is a research objective number 2. In this section, Pearson chi-square analysis was used to examine the strength of relationship between two different variables of current study. This analysis will achieve second objective of this study, which is to investigate the relationship between food insecurity and mental health among students in UiTM Seremban 3. Based on the table, 27.7% from the food secure group were categorized as normal or not having depression. Meanwhile, 5.4% of them were having mild depression, followed by 13.4% with moderate depression. Other than that, 3.6%, which is 4 students from the food moderate insecure group, were normal. 0.9% of them were having mild depression. Then 0.9% also, which is 1 student from the food insecure group, were normal and mild depression. 1.8% and 3.6% under this group, which is food insecurity, were having moderate and severe depression. From the tables and result, the p-value is 0.000, lower than 0.05. It means the result is rejects null hypothesis, and it means there was a significant relationship between food insecurity and depression among recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3. Next, we go to the relationship between food insecurity and anxiety. The table shows that 23.2%, which is 26 students in the food secure group, were having a normal anxiety level, where 3.57% and 14.3% of them were having mild and moderate anxiety respectively. However, 9.8% of the food secure students were having extreme anxiety, while 3.57% were having severe anxiety. On the other hand, 5.35% students from the food moderate group were having normal anxiety, followed by 0.89%, and 6.25% students from this group were having mild and moderate anxiety level, respectively. The severe and extremely severe level of anxiety for the food insecure group were 3.57% and 13.39%. Then, 0.9% students from the food insecure group were normal and mild anxiety. There are no one were having moderate and severe anxiety, and only 14.3% students were categorized as having extreme anxiety. In this table, it's shown that p-value is 0.000, lower than 0.05. It means it also rejects null hypothesis. So there was a significant relationship between food insecurity and anxiety among FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3. Lastly, the relationship between food insecurity and stress. Based on the table, it showed that 42 students in the food secure group were having a normal stress level, where 8 and 5 of them were having mild and moderate stress respectively. However, only 1% of the food secure students were having extreme stress. On the other hand, 11 students which is 9.82% students from the food moderate group were having normal stress, followed by 4.46%, which is 5 students from this group were having mild and moderate stress level respectively. Then from the food insecure group, there are 0.9% were normal. Meanwhile, 3 people were mild stress. After look for the result in this table and the significance of chi-square test, the result is the p-value also is 0.000, lower than 0.05, which means it is also reject the null hypothesis. So the conclusion is there was a significant relationship between food insecurity and stress among FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3. Next, we go to the discussion. In the current study, the prevalence of students who were food insecure was 45.6%. Among these, 29.5% was moderate food insecure and 16.1% is severe food insecurity. However, most of them were experiencing moderate food insecurity. Lack of financial stability has been reported as a major reason causing food insecurity among students, according to Ramley in 2019. Other than that, food insecurity has relationship with mental health among FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3. The DAS-21 scoring method indicates the whole mental health problem involving depression, anxiety, and stress level. According to the previous study, depression and anxiety can be distinguished through the symptoms experienced by an individual. According to Tran in 2013. The result of this study also show that food insecurity was associated with anxiety among FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3. The majority of FSR recreational athletes in UiTM Seremban 3 students experience normal stress level. The food insecurity may be a significant reason for the student to experience the stress, as the outcome of the analysis shows the significant association between food insecurity with stress level. In a study among Malaysia university students, studies workload has been identified as the main causes of stress, followed by peer pressure, family problem, and financial problem due to the Ramachandran 2018. In conclusion, this study shows that the prevalence of food insecurity was 45.6%, where 29.5% were moderate and 16.1% were severe food insecure. However, there was significant relationship between food insecurity and three elements of mental health, which is depression, anxiety, and stress among the study population. Nonetheless, greater research into food insecurity among university students is needed in order to discover a solution to the problem and its connected difficulties in keeping with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of achieving zero hunger. Last but not least, this is the reference that I've been used to investigate the relationship or to do the research about the relationship between food insecurity and mental health. And lastly, I want to thank grateful and being grateful, and thanks to all the panels for hearing my research proposal. Thank you.